Good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Southside, shout out to Ghana. Good to see you. Seeing you in faith. Paisley, Motherwell, shout out to Motherwell. And for my last time, shout out to Royston. Royston, yes, they have a few more weeks as part of Rehope Church. They're going through a leadership transition there. But last time they will hear from me. Don't celebrate too loudly out there. Double blessing on the people of Royston, love and peace and joy. Blessing over this leadership transition for you. Really excited about where God's taking you as a church. All right, we believe, and I am confident that blessings are powerful. So let me start off with something very powerful. I bless you now in the name of Jesus, that you would know Jesus more wonderfully. May God bless you and protect you, smile upon you, and be gracious to you. May He show you His favor and give you His peace. In the name of Jesus, may it be. All right, so today we come to the very last verses in the book of James. Technically, it's one sentence. We come to the last sentence in the book of James, and before we even read it, I'll tell you, we have a perfect ending to this book. Dare I say, inspired. a perfect ending. Now, before we talk about the ending, I want to set it up because the ending is his application of everything that we've been looking at. And so we'll just take this moment, since it's our last week in the book of James, to remember many of the things, not all, but many of the things that we have been talking about, many of the things that James has been identifying when it comes to Christians. For the last time, we'll put up our logo. Okay, so at the very heart of every message in the book of James is this call for Christians to be Christians. Not just to believe in Jesus on the inside, not just to think different, Team Apple, but also to just do it, to live what we believe. What good is it, said James in James chapter 2, for someone to have faith, meaning just on the inside, and not have deeds, not do it? And he says, can such a faith save you? And his answer was no. So there's this crisis going on that James is addressing. He's seeing many Christians have one, too many different aspects of their lives where they're claiming to be Christians in general, but they're just not living it in certain ways. No deeds. Maybe not in all the ways, but definitely in some ways. And so we've seen him call out example after example. Some of the first things he called out was troubles of any kind. How does a Christian respond when they're facing troubles of any kind? Well, Christians are to be Christians. We are to think and respond differently to every kind of trouble, whether we have troubles from not knowing what to do and needing God's wisdom, whether we have money troubles, whether we have temptation troubles. And so we were encouraged to respond differently as Christians, and that means we consider troubles an opportunity for joy, or as we talked about, the opportunity to level up. I had this picture from 1980s video game Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Yes. And we talked about how when we're facing troubles, we can think of them like a boss battle, like a major boss battle moment. And so we may not be victorious with a single punch. We might have to be light on our feet when it comes to temptation or just getting through a difficult time, dodging, skating our feet, taking a few shots back, and then finally we may overcome as we keep going and keep persevering. But having this opportunity to level up and for great joy, such as beating Mike Tyson, great joy. Okay, anyways, so we talked about that. We talked about anger. Here's a picture of a man kicking a bucket of paint. Remember this one? Christians might get angry, but as Christians, in our anger, we're called not to sin. We're talking about how one explosive, impulsive moment can do so much damage to people, hurt people, your witness for Jesus. Connected to that, we talked about our words and the danger of having damaging words. And as Christians, we're Christians. We are part of God's holy people. And so our words are not attacking people or cursing people. We don't do the crude joking thing or just crude language. We're God's holy people. We're Christians, so we need to be Christians in how we speak and what comes out of our mouth. James talked about how important it is for Christians to not just care about people on the inside who are in distress. Oh, that's too bad. But to care by doing something, by helping, by serving, by contributing, by acting. People who are in distress. Again, James is just like, we got to do stuff, not just have these thoughts and feelings on the inside. I also showed this dangerous picture for my yearbook in high school. And I asked you to identify who the cool kids were. Nobody picked me, I understand. But we talked about how favoritism has no place with real Christians. That we're called to love all the people. Not just the cool kids, not just the successful people, not just the funny people. We're called to love people. So as Christians, we are to be Christians. No favoritism. We talked about other topics such as jealousy, selfish ambition. We used the image during that message of a Sherpa and climbers on Mount Everest. And we talked about how if you have jealousy and selfish ambition, that's not showing Christian wisdom. Instead, Christians are different. We're peace-loving people. We're peacemaking people. We're trying to be the Sherpas who greatness through service, helping others, not trying to be the climbers. So don't be the climbers. Take pictures of me. Take pictures of me. Hey, I made it. Being the Sherpas, those who are coming behind it and helping other people. Now, again, there's lots of topics that James keeps going through, challenging us. We talked about our career paths. And yeah, you can't separate your Christianity with your career or what you want to do with your life in your career. They're linked. You're following Jesus. You're working together on his plans and purposes for your careers and for your money. We talked about being Christian faithful stewards. Remember that? How we talked about how we give our first 10% to God and the church. The next 90% still belong to God, though. We're still stewarding that, and we're checking in with God about that. Sometimes people get irritated. They're like, Brian, that whole 10% to like your place of worship thing, that's not in the New Testament. It's not in the Old Testament. And I say, incorrect. Jesus himself, he's talking to the Pharisees, and he's like, you should still be giving your 10%. You're doing a good job with that, but you're neglecting some other important things. But this is Jesus still pushing the 10% to the place of worship in the New Testament. And if you're like before the cross, you can't do that with Jesus' teaching. Everything Jesus said was before the cross. No, it's New Testament. Like you stay with it, people. We stay with it. Anyways, that's Christian faithful stewards. Last week we talked about prayer. We talked about prayer, and when is the right time for Christians to pray? Well, if you're in a hardship, if you're happy, if you're sick, basically anytime. Anytime. And we talked about how the earnest or the passionate prayers of a righteous person are powerful in their effect. Christians pray. And Christians who are being Christians, meaning that they're following, they're not maybe perfect, but are trying to live the righteous life that James has been encouraging us to live. Christians being Christians, our prayers are, in his words, wonderful in their effect. Wonderful, produce wonderful results. Now, that's a bit of a blast of a rapid recap here. We did talk about other things as well, but all that to say is, as we look at the last sentence, we have just gone through 5 chapters of topic after topic after topic, calling Christians to be Christians in every aspect of their life, to have faith and to live it, to just do it. Well, here's how it ends. Chapter 5, verse 19, the final sentence of the book. My dear brothers and sisters, if someone among you wanders away from the truth and is brought back, you can be sure that whoever brings the sinner back from wandering will save that person from death and bring about the forgiveness of many sins. What a perfect ending. James has spent the entire letter saying that he's seeing Christians, and that's who he's talking about. These wandering people are Christians, people among you, those among you, if they have wandered away from the truth. Christians wandering away from the truth. Again, as we understand James by now, for sure, wandering away from the truth isn't just having different thoughts in our minds. Oh, now I believe different things. Wandering from the truth is about wandering from living out the truth. So I suppose at this moment I need to pause, and we're going to do something entirely opposite of what I've been encouraging you for the entirety of the James series up to this point. Thus far, when I've gone through these messages, I've been like, you just think about you. Don't think about anybody else. No elbow nudging. No thinking, oh man, somebody needs to hear this one. Okay, it's just been about you, but now we come to elbow nudging Sunday. Okay, maybe not elbow nudging Sunday, but if it works. But it is time now to be thinking about other people in your life. It is about time to, after we have self-evaluated, it's time to, in a healthy way, to look out and to think about some people who might consider themselves Christians, who probably do, but who have wandered away in how they're actually living it out. You might talk to them and say, I'm still a Christian. I still have all the same views on the inside. I'm just not doing this right now. I'm not doing the church thing right now. I'm making other choices, but I still got it on the inside. I'm a Christian on the inside. James is like, what is that? Now, there's obvious people that you might be thinking about. I mean, the people who used to go to church and follow God, and they've wandered away. They're not doing that. Those are some obvious people. I can think of people who have preached at Rehope in years past, in the last 20-some years, who aren't doing the church thing anymore. I can think of Bible group leaders. I mean, not yours. Yours are awesome. But some Bible group leaders have wandered over the past couple of years. But maybe you can think of people who maybe an aspect of their life or two is really demonstrating, in this way, they aren't living the truth with this topic. Well, James he's not wanting us to be judgy. Oh yeah, that was another topic. Judging, don't be judgy. This isn't about being judgy. This is being a bit more like Jesus. Jesus describes himself as one who goes after those who have wandered away. He tells so many stories and parables about going after things that are lost and the rejoicing when they're returned, when they're found. For example, Matthew 18, Jesus tells this story, and we all think of him, this is him describing himself and his character. Jesus says, if a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others on the hills and go out to search for the one that is lost? And if he finds it, I tell you the truth. He will rejoice over it more than over the 99 that didn't wander away. Key line there, wander away. In the same way, it's not my heavenly Father's will that even one of these little ones should perish. What often gets lost in some of the teachings of Jesus is this is about someone, a sheep, somebody, a sheep who was once in, and now they have wandered away. They've wandered off. And then right after this, the very next words, he's going to start going through church. We call it church discipline, but like how to confront a believer who is sinning. A believer who is sinning. Oh, you go to them and you confront them. You bring somebody to go with you. You take them to the elders. There's this process. This is about Christians wandering off. This section here. So Jesus and James, they're having the same message. We're not being judgy, we're being Jesus. Jesus goes after those who are lost. It's a big mission of his. Be like Jesus, Christians. Be like Jesus and go after those who are lost. Now let's talk about strategy for a second. The goal, and I think some people miss this, the goal is to bring people back, not to irritate them further away. Right? That's the goal. That's the goal. And so we want to be strategic about this. And the challenge is that there's not a right way to do this. It just depends on the person. It depends on where they're at. But I want you to be more thoughtful than what do you want to do. I want to bop them on the head. Okay, don't do that. We don't bop people on the head, right? But I want you to think strategically. Do they need an invitation? Do they need a gentle wooing? Do they need a little bit stronger warning and confrontation? I feel like many people's go-to is incessant nagging. I mean, if it works, but I don't know. The thought about this, it is so significant to be about bringing people back. So I encourage you to pray strategically. Seek God strategically in how this person might be best reached to bring back to living in the truth. God's on your page with this. God loves bringing back people who are lost. He wants to help you help them. So again, be strategic, be prayerful. Give this a thought. It's very significant. Now let's go back to James here for a moment. Our last sentence here. What happens, does it say here? What happens when or if we successfully bring a wandering person back? What happens? You can see it there. Two things. Two things happen. One, it will save that person from death. Do we want to talk about what that is? And the implications there? What does it mean for a Christian who has wandered off? Well, most people connect this to two different deaths. The first one includes sooner or suddenly dying, like physical death. You might say an example of that in the Bible, Ananias and Sapphira. They're part of the Christian community. They sell some property. They make a lot of money from it. I don't know if they made a lot of money. They got money from that, and they gave much of it to the church or to the apostles' feet. They held some of it back. They said that they gave all, even though they probably gave most. But that little lie finds them dying suddenly and sooner. They're just struck dead for that sin, for that line there. It brings a lot of holy fear of the Lord into the church. So they die. Sometimes sinning leads to physical death. We read a verse last week, or a couple verses in 1 Corinthians, about how the misuse of communion. Sometimes people are getting sick. Some are even dying because of sinning against the body and blood of Jesus in dishonoring communion? I think that everyone believes James is talking about physical death sooner or later for those who have wandered away. Sooner or suddenly when it comes to wandering away as a possibility. But the most troubling and irritating question that people don't want to answer, that you don't want to answer probably, is what about spiritual death? It's very uncomfortable. Is spiritual death on the line? Spiritual death meaning not being saved, not going to heaven, Christians wandering away. Now, there are so many different backgrounds in our church, but I'll tell you straight out, there are two ancient biblical views that I find both of them to be biblical, and I'm fine whatever your view is on the topic of wandering away and salvation and its impact. They come to the same interesting conclusion, just in different angles. But on the one hand, you have Wesley. Some of you have Wesleyan background, and the Wesleyan background says that if you can be a Christian, you can be a Christian and then wander away and then lose your salvation if you wander away. Okay, some of you have that background. So yeah, then spiritual death if you wander away. Other of you come from Calvinist backgrounds. And Calvinists would say, you can't lose your salvation, but the thing that gets missed when it comes to Calvinism, it's only those who stay Christian and who are Christians at the end who were saved. So if you pray a prayer and you have a good Jesus week or a good Jesus month or a good Jesus decade, but then you wander away as a Calvinist and you no longer are following Jesus at the end of your life, the Calvinist would say you never had your salvation because you didn't stick with it. And the Wesleyan would say, you lost your salvation, but at the end of the day, I don't care which angle you're taking, there's a danger there when it comes to wandering away spiritually, however your approach. Nobody except for a few pop Christians believe that you pray a prayer and it doesn't matter how you live. Right? But the ancient biblical views, those are the two that were in background. Now, as Christians, side note of highest importance, though. Keep going, right? Keep going. I'm not worried, but Paul is very aware. Like, I don't want to be disqualified. Like Paul's living that way. Let's just keep living it. Let's keep spurring each other on. We're going to keep encouraging each other as long as it is today. We're going to keep going. All right, free. Okay, so not only might they be spared from death, if we bring them back from wandering. Number two, their sins, as they have lived a life having wandered away from God, their sins will be forgiven. Again, connecting to this idea of the spiritual realities, their sins will be forgiven. Again, so many of the teachings of Jesus have to do with rejoicing. Rejoicing when a sinner is brought back, or rejoicing when what has been lost has been found. Rejoicing. I'm gonna try a risky picture here of my son Owen for this moment. Now, it's my son Owen there. So he's got his gaming headset on, his VR headset on. Now, what do you see in this picture? What do you see in this picture? What I see Owen looks about like he's going to hit my TV, which would be a sin leading to death, probably. Okay, so Owen is fully immersed in his views here, in his reality. He's completely locked into his reality, and this is me reaching out because he seems seconds away from either hurting himself or other things I might enjoy, but hurting things. Now, Owen's not trying to hurt people. He's not trying to. He's just in his own headspace. He's just in his own view of things right now. He's just having a good time, not as alert to what's really going on, big picture, but I can see what's going on from my perspective. And James has spent his book trying to make sure Christians can see what's going on from real perspective. But Owen can't see what's happening around him. Again, he's fine from his perspective. But because I love him, I'm not going to let him just hurt himself. I'm going to move. I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to pull him away from the TV. I'm going to reach out before impact. Again, James has spent his letter talking about Christians who have wandered off and who are drifting away, drifting into anger, drifting into compromise, drifting into greed, drifting into prayerlessness, whatever the topic. And many of these Christians haven't even realized that they've slid or slipped or wandered in one of these very dangerous ways. And so the final call is to Christians. Now that we've gone through this, help people who are in very dangerous places right now, who have wandered off. Don't just be like, oh, you do you make your own choices. No, love them. Care for them. They're saying death and forgiveness is on the line here. Get up, speak up, go after. Why? Because we are Christians, being Christians. Christians don't just sit back and watch people drift off to death and destruction. We move, we interrupt, we warn, we reach out, we step in before something bad happens. And I think some of you today, maybe many who are listening, many of you are here because somebody interrupted your wandering. Because somebody invited you or challenged you or nagged you or brought you back. Somebody saw where your path was leading and they loved you enough for some sort of nudging or pulling or pushing. And I know others of you know people who are not living as a Christian. And maybe it's just in one area of their life, one of these James areas. Here's the final challenge of the study. The final challenge is, I want you to prayerfully consider how to reach out to someone who has wandered away from living like a Christian and take a step to try and bring them back. This might be the most eternally significant challenge. Eternity-shaping challenge of the whole series. Pursuing those who have wandered to bring them back. Why don't you close your eyes with me for a second? And two questions for you to bring before God. Who and how? Who and how? Why don't you ask Jesus about that right now?